we found there's 5 pillars of workplace happiness. If these 5 things are done well, it leads to a fantastic employee experience, a great flow-on effect onto your customer experience, and then your shareholders are happy. And the 5 pillars are high workplace well-being. And we could break that down further because there's 7 types of workplace well-being. Like, I'm sure we don't have time to get into all of them, but it's like physical well-being is a bit different to social well-being. It's a bit different to financial well-being. So there's different contributors to that. But well-being first, then engagement, which is one that people have been talking about for like 20, 30 years. And most often it's one that's being measured, but it's the only one that's being measured. Like, organizations go, we do an annual engagement survey. I'm like, cool, that is 1/5 of the puzzle. If that's all you're doing, it's not enough, right? Number 3 is culture, which we're talking a lot more about lately, and that includes things like psychosocial safety. That includes things like transparency and trust, vision, mission, values. There's some key contributors to culture. Number 4 is leadership. We know that has a massive impact on the preceding 3. Right? If leadership is equipped and doing well and set up for success, the other 3 tend to do a little bit better. And then the last one is resilience, which is where we see burnout come in, which is where we see adaptivity come in. It's where we see, in the massively changing world of work that we live in, where there's all these disruptions and change, do we have a workforce that's able to adapt to change and bounce back in hard times? We want resilience in there too. So those 5 things need to be looked after. And if they are going to be looked after, in answer to your question of what's something out of the ordinary that workplaces can do, measure it. Measure it effectively, because then you can A, see where your gaps are, B, see where your strengths are and kind of brag about that in your recruiting process, and C, you can measure whether where you invested that money works. So if you do go, hey, we got our budget, 2% of payroll, we're putting that all towards pizza parties 3 times a year, I promise you're not going to see a change in those 5 measurements. You're not going to see a change in those 5 factors of workplace happiness. If you do the leadership training, do you see a return on investment? Do you see a change in those numbers, particularly in the leadership one? Because if you don't, chances are the leadership training was pretty shit and you shouldn't buy it again, right? So like, for us, so much of what we do at BU Happiness College when we partner with workplaces is give me the evidence first. Like, prove it. Let's measure this. And let's put together a strategy. If you're not measuring it, you're relying on faith and blind guesswork, and you're just gambling with your budget.
You mentioned resilience there as being one of those pillars. And for salespeople, often the word resilience is sort of like seen as a badge of honor. We're resilient. We go out and get knocked back when we're doing cold calls. We're pretty much just the brick wall that shit gets thrown at until we win something. You spoke about a study when we were talking before the podcast about, I think it was Sean Aker at Harvard.
Yeah.
And salespeople who learnt the skills of happiness were 37% more effective as salespeople.
Yeah.
I wonder if you've got something that challenges this notion of resilience and maybe how those skills of happiness play into more effective selling.
Yeah. So I'll answer first. Resilience, I think there's a very common misconception about what resilience is, right? We often think of resilience exactly through the lens that you described it, of I can stay strong through the shit times. That's not resilience. That's almost stubbornness to a degree, right? True resilience is I can adapt well in challenging times, right? Which means I'm able to change my approach. I'm able to bring different skill sets to the table, right? It is not survival of the fittest or strongest. It is survival of those most able to adapt. That is resilience, right? And so we want to look at that first, like skills for adaptation and being adaptable in times of challenge and change.